the day after my son died in a car accident. My husband brought home his illegitimate child. He also planned to have me donate my heart to the third party and forced me to give up all my assets during the divorce. I quietly pressed the record button, pretending to know nothing about it, at my husband's wedding to the third party. The murderer of my son appeared with a mysterious box. As soon as the box was opened, the man and woman both went crazy. Everyone's gaze fell on me. I pretended to be very aggrieved and said, "Don't you like it? This is a wedding gift that I have prepared with a lot of thought. There was a car accident at the entrance of the community. Everyone else was fine, but my 5-year-old son died on the spot. I was in deep grief. I was admitted to the hospital. My husband refused to accept compensation. He insisted on suing the driver. In the end, the driver was sentenced to imprisonment. In order to help me get over the pain of losing my son, my husband specially adopted a little boy from the orphanage who looked like my son to keep me company. But on the day I was discharged from the hospital, I overheard him talking to my best friend on the phone, my husband, in order to get our child to live in your house openly. You even killed your own son. Don't you feel sad? If he's dead, he's dead. After all, Olivia gave birth to him, as long as you and your son are safe. I'm willing to do anything. When are you getting a divorce? I want to be with you openly. Wait a little longer. Your heart condition is not good. You may need a transplant at any time. Olivia is the perfect donor. I just have to trick her into donating her heart to save you. Then I'll break up with her immediately. I quietly wipe away my tears, pretending I know nothing. In the days that followed, I did my best to take care of this so-called adopted son. A year later, Sophia's heart disease had reached an advanced stage. At the persuasion of my husband, I agreed to the organ donation without hesitation. The surgery went very smoothly. My husband even threw a celebration dinner. Just when everyone thought Sophia would be grateful, she took my husband's arm intimately. She took out a paternity test and waved it in front of me. I have a secret to tell you. Jason is actually the child of Ethan and me. You have raised him with great effort over the years. Now it is time to return him to us. Ethan then handed over 2 things. This is the divorce agreement, and this card. There are 5,000 yuan in it. Consider it the cost of the surgery and the breakup fee. Please accept it. I smiled. Okay, what's wrong with you? Yesterday you threw away Jason's things, but that's fine. Today you're even holding scissors to his photos. Ethan saw me shredding my son's photos one by one. He rushed over immediately. He wanted to take the scissors and the remaining photos from me. He carefully picked up the broken photos on the ground. He pieced them together one by one. He didn't notice that his fingers were cut by the sharp edges. Jason was so cute. He's only been gone a short while. How can you erase the traces he left behind? Ethan asked me with tears in his eyes. He looked so miserable. If I hadn't heard him talking to Sophia with my own ears, I would almost believe that he is a good father. I said calmly, "Now that there is Jason, I don't think we should keep Jason's photos." Ethan threw the pieces into the trash can. A relieved look appeared on his face. "It seems that you have finally let go." He continued, "You and Jason were so close. You couldn't sleep when he sneezed. I was afraid you might do something stupid. The dead are dead. We should care more about the living." I nod. "You're right. I'll take care of Jason." Before he can finish, Jason runs up to him with a smartwatch in his hand. "Dad." "Mum." He pauses, then quickly corrects himself. "Aunt Sophia isn't feeling well. She says you should go and see her." Ethan's eyes looked a little worried, but he still whispered to me, "Honey." He meant Sophia, your best friend. She's a teacher at the primary school. Jason came to our family through her. She's Jason's homeroom teacher. The 2 of them are very close. They keep in touch all the time. Jason is a kind-hearted boy. He heard that his teacher wasn't feeling well. He was very worried. Ethan said. His voice was getting smaller and smaller. I stroked Jason's hair. I said to my husband, "In that case, you go and see her. If she is not feeling well, our Jason will be very sad," after hearing what I said. Ethan, who was looking for an excuse to leave, brightened up. He said, "My dear, You have always been so understanding. I am really blessed to have married you. I will go and see her. I will be right back. Ethan had not finished speaking. He rushed out of the door like the wind and disappeared. I silently watched his hurriedly departing back. Without saying a word, he had come to visit this time. It had taken him an entire day. In the middle of the night, he returned home exhausted, feeling completely drained. The next day, Sophia came to visit, full of energy, with a large bag of gifts. Olivia, I came to thank you all today. It's all my fault. My body is not doing well. My heart keeps giving me problems. It attacks me at the slightest provocation. Luckily, Ethan came to my rescue yesterday. Otherwise, I might not be alive today. Sophia puts down the gifts. She looks quite pitiful. I pretend not to see the faint marks on her neck. I say lightly, living alone is really not very safe. Especially if you are in poor health. Sophia sighs. Pretending to look sad, she says, yes, but if I'm so weak, who would want to take care of me? As she spoke, she gave Ethan a soft glance. A smile played at the corner of her mouth. I really envy Olivia. She found such a loyal and considerate husband in Ethan. Although Jason is gone, God has given you another Jason who is even more understanding than he was. You are truly a blessed person. And look at me. I'm all alone. Jason listened and said innocently, when I grow up, I will take good care of you. Ethan quickly came out to ease the atmosphere. He said with deep meaning in his words, my child, I know you mean well. You can't stand to see others suffer. But when you grow up, you still have to take care of us. Don't always side with outsiders. Do you remember? Jason glanced at me, pouting his lips, he said. I remember. I didn't expose their conversation, which was full of innuendo. I said to Sophia seriously, you're the one I've been helping. Seeing you having a hard time. I feel bad too. If you encounter any trouble in the future, feel free to come to us for help. Don't feel embarrassed. Sophia's eyes carried a hint of smugness. Smiling, she said to Olivia, you're such a kind person like him. We'll definitely have good fortune in the future. Looking at Sophia's smug expression, I laughed. Sophia, your good fortune is still waiting for you. Ever since I agreed that Sophia could ask me for help at any time, she has become unrestrained. Ethan and I constantly receive messages from her on our phones. Olivia, my heart is hurting again. Can brother Ethan accompany me to the hospital for a checkup? Olivia, I have an important proposal here. I would like brother Ethan to give me some pointers. Can you ask him to help, Olivia? Today is my birthday. Can Ethan bring Jason to celebrate with me? Sophia's excuses for wanting to see Ethan became more and more far-fetched. But I never said anything. At first, Ethan pretended to feel guilty, saying he shouldn't have left me alone at home. Later, he stopped even pretending. As soon as he heard from Sophia, he'd tidy up immediately, rush out the door. It would take him most of the day to get there. When he returned, he was always full of energy. His complexion was particularly good. In this way, a year passed without me noticing. Towards the end of the year, my phone received another message about Sophia. This time, it was from the hospital staff. Are you a relative of Mtks Sophia? She is in critical condition with heart failure. She is currently being treated in our hospital. The patient has insisted that treatment be stopped. She wants to see you one last time. Please come to the hospital as soon as possible and persuade her to continue treatment. After hanging up the phone, Ethan immediately took Jason and me to the hospital. In the ward, Sophia was pale and weakly lying in bed when she saw us come in. She immediately burst into tears. Olivia, Ethan, have you come to see me off? Ethan frowned and urgently asked me. Sophia, the doctor said you don't want treatment. Why? Sophia is full of tears, weakly said. The doctor can't find a suitable heart donor. I can't hold on much longer. This pain is too much. She turns around. Looks at me with an apologetic look on her face. Olivia, thank you for taking care of me all these years. You are the kindest person I have ever met. If I could, I would give my life to repay you. Unfortunately, I won't live long. I can only repay you in my next life to repay your kindness, Sophia finished, pretending to unplug the monitoring equipment on her body. Ethan quickly stopped her, speaking seriously. Isn't it just a matter of finding a suitable heart? Olivia's heart matches yours. She has always helped you like this. She definitely won't abandon you now. How can you so easily give up the idea of living? Ethan finished. Sophia put on a pitiful look, sighing. No need. Olivia has helped me enough. Although a heart transplant is not fatal, I would rather die myself. I don't want her to suffer for me. After saying that, Sophia glanced at me quietly. Then she took out a handkerchief to wipe her tears. After seeing this, Jason also cried with tears all over his face. Aunt Sophia, you must not die. Jason held my hand tightly. He looked at me with expectation in his eyes. He said, Mom, you will definitely save Aunt Sophia. Right. I stroked his face tenderly and said firmly, of course, I agree to donate my heart to her. Hearing my promise, the three of them let out a triumphant smile. I also smiled. They thought I was too gullible. I had long since seen through their ploy. Ethan was afraid that I would change my mind. As soon as I nodded and agreed to donate, he immediately started making arrangements for the surgery. The operation went very well. After everything was settled, Ethan stopped pretending. While I was recovering, he spent every day in Sophia's hospital room. He never came to my room at all. Half a month later, I was well enough to be discharged. As soon as I arrived home, I heard a lot of noise inside. I could hear glasses clinking when I went in. Ethan was celebrating with a group of friends, popping champagne. Sophia was dressed up in all her finery. She stood to one side, saw me come in. She immediately took Ethan's arm and walked up to me, smiling triumphantly. Olivia, I'll let you in on a secret. Ethan and I have been together for a long time. Jason is our biological child. You've been pretending to be the mother for a year. It's time to give the child back to us. Ethan sneered and took out a document. Sign this divorce agreement. You won't get anything else. When Ethan's friends heard this, immediately started making a racket. Wow, you didn't expect that, did you? Sophia and Jason are Ethan's secret lover and illegitimate child. No wonder Ethan kept going abroad back then. He was actually having a child with his lover. Brilliant. That's really clever. Not only did he bring the illegitimate child home to raise, he also made the original wife donate her heart to the lover. That's a really good move. But Olivia is no pushover. She's not going to get a divorce so easily. It's not that easy. Exactly. She's made such a big fuss. If I were Olivia, I would definitely make a scene. Everyone is looking at me curiously, waiting for me to lose my temper. I quietly take the divorce agreement and say, fine, I agree to divorce. I sign my name with panache in front of everyone. The onlookers are dumbfounded. What's going on? Why did Olivia agree so quickly? She didn't get a penny. What did she want in return? She had contributed so much to Ethan's family and company over the years. She couldn't just let go so easily. This was really strange. Sophia and Ethan were also surprised. They carefully examined the agreement. After confirming that there were no problems, they let out a sigh of relief. Ethan gave me a disdainful look. He said, a wise person will assess the situation. Otherwise, I won't let you off so easily. I calmly looked at them. I said, I wish you a long and happy marriage. After saying that, I turned around and left. 3 days later, Ethan and Sophia had a grand wedding. There were many guests at the scene. The scene was very lively. Ethan had invited almost everyone he knew. They wanted the whole world to see their perfect love. At the wedding, Ethan's face showed a happy smile that he had never had before. Sophia also looked particularly happy. She radiated with light, with everyone's blessings. The bride and groom exchanged rings. They embraced and kissed. Then they took a group photo with Jason. The wedding was full of joy and warmth. At that moment, the driver who killed Jason quietly walked into the venue. He walked directly towards the newlyweds. Ethan saw the driver and his face changed. Why are you here? The guests were stunned. Ethan himself had sent the driver to prison. To show that he was a good father, he also said that he would never let the driver out for the rest of his life. The driver said calmly, Miss Olivia signed a letter of understanding and applied for my bail. Ethan immediately retorted, Impossible. Olivia treasures her son like her life. Jason, you hit and killed him. She hates you and wants you to pay with your life. How could she possibly let you out? The driver smiled and said, Miss Olivia helped me get the bail process done a year ago, while he was talking, and took out a beautiful box from his bosom. He handed it to Ethan. This is the wedding gift she asked me to give you. The driver's words were like a bomb. It immediately caused a sensation in the room. The guests looked at each other with a surprised look on their faces. Oh my God, it's true that Olivia let him out. This is a bit strange. Olivia's son was hit and killed by the driver. She loves her child so much. How could she just let it go? Yes. Jason was raised by Olivia herself. The mother and son had a very close relationship. Even after she went through a divorce and betrayal, she was able to face it calmly. When her son died, she completely broke down. She was directly admitted to the hospital. It's only been a year. She even took the initiative to bail out the driver who caused the accident. It's so abnormal. What's even more puzzling is, she even specifically asked the driver to deliver the wedding gift. This is really unbelievable. Everyone was talking in amazement. Suspicious glances were cast back and forth among the guests. The atmosphere became very strange. Everyone was guessing what had happened. The sound of low voices in the crowd continued. Sophia, who had been smiling, suddenly looked flustered. She grabbed Ethan's wrist hard. In a panicked tone, she said, Ethan, does Olivia know about that thing? The words didn't finish. Sophia felt that she shouldn't say it here. Shut up right now. Ethan's face also turned pale, but he calmed down immediately, trying to calm himself. Pausing for a moment, he turned to the driver and said, Don't talk nonsense here. You just want to use Olivia's name to get back at me for putting you in jail. Deliberately trying to ruin my wedding. You think this little trick can fool me, Ethan? Facing Fang Wenju's questioning, the driver remained calm. With a faint smile on his face, Ethan, how about you take a look at the gift before you make a decision? He slowly pushed the box in front of Ethan. Ethan looked at the gift box, frowning, thinking for a long time. He then took the box with trembling hands, carefully opened it, as soon as Ethan saw what was in the box. His whole body froze. He was struck by lightning, immediately threw the box far away, usually calm and composed him, but now he looked like a scared child. And his whole body was shaking. The gift box fell to the ground. The contents scattered all over the floor. His relatives recognized it at once. Isn't this Jason's favorite remote-controlled car? He never wanted to let go of it when he played with it. I remember the boy saying, this was a birthday present from his father. He treasures it very much. Wait a minute. There seems to be a note stuck to the car. Hearing about the note, Ethan couldn't help but look up. The note was in a handwriting he knew well. Ethan, my son says he misses you. The words hit like a blow. Ethan's face instantly turns pale. Sophia feels terrible, she mumbles. It's over, she must know everything. There's no hiding anything anymore. Ethan comes back to his senses. He immediately announces the end of the wedding. He drags Sophia quickly to the hospital in his name. Once there, he urged the doctor to give Sophia a full examination immediately. The doctor particularly emphasized the need to carefully examine her newly transplanted heart. While waiting for the results, the two were very nervous. Sophia couldn't sit still. Her hands kept rubbing together. She kept muttering to herself. Ethan, Olivia must have found out the truth a long time ago. That's why she let that driver go and asked him to bring such a gift. But if she already knew, why did she donate her heart to me? Is there something wrong with this heart? Is she trying to get back at us in this way? Fear is like a huge net. It tightly wraps around Sophia. Her face turns pale. The more she thinks about it, the more scared she becomes. Ethan has not spoken a word. His face is very pale. His eyebrows are knitted together. Finally, the doctor comes out with the test results. MTK Sophia, the test results are all very good. You don't need to worry too much. The doctor's tone is relaxed. He gently comforts her. He knew. Ethan had been so anxious when he brought her in. If something really serious was found, the whole hospital would suffer. Sophia didn't want to accept the result. She said to the doctor, emotionally agitated, "No, you have to check it again." Especially my heart. This heart was donated by someone else, and that person and I have a deep grudge. She couldn't possibly be so kind. The doctor took the test report and MTKS Sophia. "Ethan has specifically instructed us that we will be especially careful when examining your heart. Don't worry, your physical condition is very good. This heart functions normally. There is no problem." Despite the doctor's repeated assurances that there was no problem, Sophia was still full of worry. Slowly shaking her head, what on earth is going on? Olivia had long since understood everything. Why did she have to come and save me? What was her real purpose? Sophia was talking, and her eyes accidentally swept to Jason next to her. She immediately crouched down and gently placed her hands on the child's shoulders. Her tone was full of worry. "Honey, has Aunt Olivia done anything strange lately that made you feel strange? Has she made you feel uncomfortable? Be honest with your mother." "You must be honest." Jason tilted his head and thought about it. He quickly shook his head and said, "Aunt Olivia is so good to me. She makes me delicious food every day. And she plays with me." After hearing these words, Sophia felt slightly relieved. She thought about it and felt that something was wrong. She frowned, thought for a while, and then turned to Ethan, whispering, "Could it be that Olivia knows nothing? She is doing this just to ruin our wedding. Think about it. We had planned so carefully before. Even Martha, the only one who knew the truth, was sent to a remote place in the countryside. How could she find out the truth?" Ethan nodded, said thoughtfully, "It is indeed possible, but to be on the safe side, we'd better go and see Martha." After discussing it, the two handed the baby over to the family's maid to look after, and drove to the remote mountain village to look for Martha, the former nanny. They hadn't seen her for 3 years, but the scene in front of them took them by surprise. The Martha they remembered, who was gentle and considerate and did everything thoroughly, had completely changed. Now she was a disheveled, delirious madwoman. "I'm sorry, it's all my fault." She kept banging her head against the wall and kept saying things about how sorry she was. Sophia was shocked. She quickly went over to her and tried to hold her. "Martha, what's wrong with you? What's wrong?" Martha didn't even hear her. She just kept repeating the same words over and over again. "I'm guilty. I deserve to die. I'm sorry." It was like she was haunted by a nightmare. Ethan looked serious. He turned to Martha's son and asked, "Wasn't your mother fine before? Why has she become like this?" He sighed. "Ethan, it was after Miss Olivia came that she came to see my mother once. After that, my mother became like this." Hearing this answer, Ethan and Sophia glanced at each other. They could see surprise and concern in each other's eyes. They could see that Martha had completely lost control. Ethan and Sophia quietly returned to the car. There was a tense silence in the car. After a long while, Ethan spoke. "Martha has pushed her to this point. It seems that Olivia already knows everything. According to her character, after learning how Jason died, she definitely will not let it go." Sophia felt a little panicked, but still pretended to be calm and said, "So what if she knows? You have Ethan Group backing you up. What can a housewife like her do?" Ethan shook his head. His expression became even more serious. "You underestimate her. Olivia is a very capable woman. She decided to become a housewife for Jason and me. When she worked in the company before, I witnessed her abilities with my own eyes. Jason is her life. She will never let this go easily." As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately stepped on the accelerator and started the car. Sophia quickly fastened her seat belt. She asked, "Where are we going?" Ethan said with a determined look. "We're going to find Olivia." He drove Sophia to my old house. I was in the backyard trimming the flowers and plants. Dad loved taking care of this garden. In my spare time, I often brought Jason back here to visit. Watching the father and son happily playing in the garden was very heartwarming. Those scenes used to make me feel so happy. Now, all that's left of Dad is a photo on the wall. Jason has left me forever. When I saw Ethan and Sophia again, I felt at peace. It had only been a few days. Ethan looked haggard. He was always so well-groomed, but now his clothes were rumpled. He looked exhausted. His shoes were covered in mud. He must have rushed here. Sophia also looked different from her usual self. She looked pale. She had lost weight. They stood there, looking at me with unfamiliar eyes. I politely invited them in. I served them hot tea. I sat across from them, with a polite smile on my face. Sophia looked a little uncomfortable. It had only been a few days. She had completely changed the way she treated me. When I smiled, she couldn't help but shrink back. It was as if she always felt that I would hurt her. Ethan pauses for a moment, and then he asks, about Jason. "You've figured it out, haven't you?" I pour a cup of tea, take a small sip, and say in a calm tone, "Ethan, you must remember, the first time I went to his house, my father took out this jar of treasured tea. It was his most precious thing. He usually doesn't even drink it himself. Only when entertaining guests he particularly values. He will take it out." What I said sounded casual, but it made Ethan frown. His expression became wary. He stared at me and asked coldly, "What are you really trying to say?" I slowly drank the tea in my cup. The familiar bitter taste was still there. The taste of this tea has not changed at all. Unfortunately, the person in front of me has changed. He is no longer the upright and open-minded boy he once was. "Ethan, do you remember back then, before your father died, handed you a messy family business? You wept heartbreakingly at your father's grave, for the first time. You let down your guard in front of me. You said you were worried that you couldn't bear the burden. You were afraid that you would waste your father's lifelong efforts. You said you were lonely. You especially wanted someone to be there for you. You were always so strong. You looked so fragile in that moment. It broke my heart to see. From that day on, I silently made up my mind I would do my best to help you. I would never let you bear it all alone again. Maybe I never said it. Those important partners and business resources. I kept going to their doors. I negotiated many times to get them. This company full of difficulties. I used all my strength. I put in all my passion. Little by little, I rebuilt it. That period of time was the hardest time of my life, seeing the proud light in your eyes at the celebration dinner. I felt that everything was worth it. At that time, really loved you very much. I was willing to give up everything for you. I was willing to give up my career for you. I was willing to ignore what other people said for you. I was willing to stay at home and take care of the family and the children. Do you remember the day we got married? You promised in front of my father that I was the most important and beloved woman in your life. You said you would love me for the rest of your life. Be faithful to me forever. Never let me down. Is this what you call true love? I spoke calmly, as if I were talking about someone else. My tone was devoid of emotion. But Ethan's face grew increasingly grave. He looked at me. His eyes were complicated. He wanted to say something, but didn't. In the end, he said nothing. At that moment, Sophia couldn't help but interrupt. "Isn't Ethan good to you? You have a good life at home. You lack for nothing. You don't have to worry about making a living. You just need to focus on raising the child." Seeing Sophia eagerly defending Ethan, I smiled. When we first met, we were both still in high school. It was a particularly cold winter. You had old cloth shoes on your feet. Your sweater was full of patches. You were young, but your eyes were full of inferiority. He looked at me with shyness and expectation in his eyes. Because of this, I worked my hardest to help you. I treated you as my best friend. You knelt on the ground and swore that you would repay me with your life. That was your way of saying thank you. I finished calmly. Sophia was speechless for a moment. Ethan gulped hard and took a sip of tea. Trying to remain calm, he said, "What's the point of talking about this now? We came here today to get some answers. What exactly do you want?" Ethan panicked. He panicked because I had exposed their betrayal one by one. He panicked because I was so calm in the face of their bad behavior. Their unease could no longer be hidden. I laughed and said, "What can a housewife do? Nothing more than cook and take care of the garden." The calmer I acted, the more disturbed Ethan felt. He asked me, "Why did you go to Martha's then? She went into a state of shock when she saw you." I gulped down the tea in one go and whispered, "I just wanted to thank her for taking care of our son." She was Jason's favorite nanny. I went to say thank you. What's wrong with that? Seeing that I couldn't get an answer, Ethan angrily pulled Sophia away. I stopped them. I took out a notebook from my bag. I handed it to Sophia. You've just had heart transplant surgery. Your body needs special care. This is a summary of the key points of postoperative care and recuperation methods. I hope you will take good care of yourself, according to the advice in this notebook. Sophia took the notebook with surprise. She flipped through the pages. She saw that the notebook was filled with detailed notes on every aspect of her recovery after the surgery. She couldn't help shaking her head. She muttered, "This is crazy, crazy. Olivia, you are really crazy. This is horrible." After saying that, Sophia immediately rushed out of the door. Ethan hurried after her. After arriving home, Sophia was restless. She couldn't sit still or stand still. Ethan, this woman is definitely up to something. Even if she knows the truth about Jason's accidental death, what can she do? Words alone won't work. We need real evidence, if there was any evidence. The police would have been here a long time ago. Ethan nodded, agreeing with her. The villa's butler suddenly came over with a package. "Ethan, this is from Miss Olivia. She specifically asked that you receive it in person." Ethan hurriedly opened the package. He saw a recording device inside. He told the butler to leave. Then he pressed play. A voice came from inside. "Dear, just because our son said he wanted to live with his father, you planned a car accident. You killed your own son with your own hands. Don't you feel heartbroken? What's there to feel heartbroken about? The child Olivia gave birth to, if she dies, she dies. As long as you and Jason are happy. I'll do anything. When will you get a divorce? I want to be with you openly. Don't worry, your heart disease may worsen at any time. Olivia is the most suitable donor. Once I find a way to get her to donate her heart, I will completely sever ties with her." Familiar lines, a special voice. Every word clearly reached the ears of the two people. The two people who were full of hope just now suddenly turned pale. Sophia said in a trembling voice, "It turned out that she had long known that you had planned Jason's car accident. And she had discovered our relationship. She even knew about our plan to lie about the heart. If so, why didn't you tell the truth? Why didn't you go to the police and arrest someone? Why did she keep watching us act for 3 years and finally really donate her heart? What exactly is this woman's purpose?" Sophia was completely at a loss. She couldn't understand my thoughts at all. Ethan was also very confused. Having worked in the business world for many years, Ethan had met many people. No matter what kind of scheme he encountered, he could easily resolve it. We have known each other for so long, he felt that he knew me very well. But now, he couldn't guess what I was thinking. Ethan and Sophia were always surrounded by this indescribable sense of fear. They couldn't eat or sleep, even if they took medicine, and can only get a few hours sleep. But they always have nightmares, especially Ethan. As soon as he closes his eyes, he sees Jason's bloody, terrifying face. Ethan wakes up from his nightmare. He's covered in sweat. His body is shaking. The stress of the past few days has overwhelmed him. He has a high fever. Weak, he lies in bed. He doesn't even have the strength to sit up. After the doctor has examined him, said it was due to severe exhaustion caused by physical and mental overwork. Sophia stayed by the bedside the whole time, watching him grow weaker and weaker day by day. She felt particularly sad. She really couldn't bear this pain anymore. "Ethan, let's go. This house always makes me feel a bit creepy. Every night I dream that Jason is standing next to my bed, covered in blood. Let's take Jason to live somewhere else for a while. Avoid all this bad stuff." "Okay," Ethan nodded weakly. They quickly packed their things, took Jason and planned to leave. Ethan was not feeling well. Sophia was driving, but the shock and lack of sleep had made her a little confused. She suddenly noticed a little boy running in front of her. She screamed in fear. Quickly swerved the steering wheel. As a result, the car lost control. It hit head-on with a large truck coming from the opposite direction. Ethan woke up in the hospital. He was covered in tubes and wires. The accident had left him with serious injuries. He had almost died. Sophia was sitting by the bed. Her arm was in a cast. She looked exhausted. She had been by his side the whole time. Sophia saw him open his eyes. She burst into tears with joy. "Ethan, you're finally awake." She didn't finish her sentence. The door to the room opened. I stood in the doorway holding flowers. Sophia's eyes reddened. "Olivia, what are you doing here?" I put down the flowers. My tone is calm. "I heard you were in a car accident. I came to see how you are." Sophia gives a cold smile. "Don't pretend to be nice. We are in this situation. It's all your fault. You came to visit in a pretentious manner. You just want to see us in our misery." She shouts out, "William." "Where is William?" Hearing the shouting, William walks in. Sophia immediately points at me and asks, "What are you doing here? How can just anyone enter the ward?" "Hurry up and get rid of this unlucky woman." William looked at me seriously. He said sternly, "I'm sorry. Mistress Olivia is now my superior. You're in no position to give me orders." Sophia asked in surprise, "What do you mean, aren't you an assistant at Ethan Group? How did you become her lackey?" William paused for a moment. A complex expression appeared on his face. "While you were in a coma, Ethan Group went bankrupt due to financial problems. Mistress Olivia now takes over the company. She continued to employ those employees who would otherwise lose their jobs. Now the Ethan family has changed its surname to Smith. Mistress Olivia is our boss. You too owe a lot of money. You have been put on the list of people who have failed to pay. There are many creditors outside waiting to collect from you." Sophia's legs gave way after hearing this. She nearly fainted. Ethan stared at me with wide eyes. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He opened his mouth, but only a hoarse sound came out. I walked up to him and said with a cold smile, "You've been wondering how I'm going to get back at you. Haven't you, to be honest? Any kind of revenge would be too light for you. Even if you were thrown in jail, you'd still be able to live a good life. I know. You're always suspicious, and you always think you're right. In your opinion, I would definitely do anything to get back at you for Jason. The more I remain still, the more frightened you will be. The harshest punishment is never physical pain. It is mental torture. I want to completely destroy you with your own fear. I want you to be unable to eat or sleep. Life will be more unbearable than death." Ethan listened to me finish. His eyes were wide. His face suddenly turned pale. He stuttered, "Stop, stop." His voice trembled. A painful groan escaped his throat, then he vomited a mouthful of blood, and then he stopped breathing. Seeing Ethan dead was a huge shock for Sophia. She ran out of the hospital like crazy. Later, I heard that Sophia had gone completely crazy. She told everyone she met that she was Ethan's wife. She became very well known. Jason was sent to a children's home. I took Jason's favorite remote-controlled car and went to his grave. I said, "My boy, the person who hurt you has been punished. Remember, never show mercy."